Cash Studio.
Hello and welcome to the CNBC TV18 eBooks Cash Studio. I'm Shereen Bhan. 3 years ago, on the 6th of September, in a landmark judgment, the Supreme Court decriminalised homosexuality in India. On this special edition of the CNBC TV18 Conversations, we take a closer look at whether the work environment has in fact become more inclusive for LGBTQ plus employees and the steps corporate India is taking to achieve real diversity and inclusion. Recently, Axis Bank announced its Come As You Are charter of policies where all employees can list partners for Mediclaim benefits irrespective of gender, sex or marital status. Customers from the LGBTQ plus community would also be able to list their title as MX in their accounts. Open a joint account with the same-sex partner and add a partner as a nominee as well. Companies like Godrej, Wipro, Salesforce, TCS, Capgemini and Tech Mahindra have also put in place policies to ensure a safe, inclusive and equal opportunity work environment. Tech Mahindra, Godrej and Publicis also cover gender reassignment surgeries under their medical insurance policies. In fact, Tech Mahindra, for example, provides 30 days paid leave with reimbursement available up to 5 lakh rupees. Now, a survey conducted by BCG covering close to 9,000 people between June to December of 2020 shows that the first year of employment is critical for the LGBTQ plus employees. It also showed that more respondents tended to work for companies that had advanced LGBTQ plus policies. Well, to take this conversation forward, we're joined by Rajkamal Vempati, the President and Head of Human Resources at Axis Bank, Srini Ramaswamy, the co-founder of Pride Circle, Harshvendra Soni, the Global Chief People Officer and Head of Marketing at Tech Mahindra, and Kushal Khandhar, the Global Pride BCG Manager at the Boston Consulting Group. Rajkamal and gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on the program. Kushal, let me start by asking you, you have done this survey as recently as between June and December of 2020. Clearly, the 6th of September 3 years ago was an inflection point with that landmark judgment coming in from the Supreme Court. But how much has the needle moved? How different are things when it comes to India Inc.'s approach to diversity and inclusion, especially in the workplace?
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Shereen. It's a pleasure to be here. So to answer your question, I'd say that ever since the judgment has come out, there has been a significant movement in the needle in corporate India. Now, of course, the survey that we've done currently shows that we clearly have a very long way to go. But I mean, if you just look around, just at the amount of presence the LGBTQ topics have in media and various other platforms, there has been a significant change. It's also enabled a lot of companies to actually come out and start supporting this cause more openly versus before when it used to be a hush-hush affair. So I think in summary, I'd say we still have a long way to go as our survey shows. But I mean, I do think we made significant progress, especially thanks to the judgment on 6th September 3 years ago.
Yes, a long distance to cover, but nevertheless, a big movement forward, a big step forward has been taken since that landmark Supreme Court judgment. But Harshvardhan, let me come to you now, because Tech Mahindra is one of the few companies across India Inc. that did put policies in place even prior to the Supreme Court judgment. Take me through the changes that you've been able to bring about, not just for your employees, but even in your external engagement.
Thanks, Shereen, and that's an important question. So firstly, the whole ethos and the culture of TechM is that we believe that we are intentionally diverse and globally inclusive. And, it's important to state this, as our policy. We've obviously put in a lot of initiatives much before the judgment, though, including some foundational policies, whether it is gender neutral washrooms, or it is adding the third gender in all our forms, and everything that you see is actually got 3 genders. We've also done some work around important things, for example, sensitivity training. It's not enough to really just put in policies, but honestly to have sensitivity training, because when our folks even interact with the clients, it's important that our stance on LGBT is very clear. And we take pride in saying that we are on the forefront of doing things like, insurance for same-sex partners, adoption policies, and of course, the surgery that you talked about. So I think it is both within and externally that we made those changes.
Well, and that's important when you talk about the fact that it is an intentionally diverse policy that Tech Mahindra is following, because that's what needs to happen, not just on paper, but even in terms of execution as well. But Srini, if I could come to you now and explain to me, you've of course been also covering the length and breadth of how corporate India is trying to become much more diverse and much more inclusive. What do you believe has resulted in firmer steps, in a greater degree of resolution to take these issues forward? While it is the right thing to do, very often, given the stigmatization, given the sort of, the lack of sort of social currency around these issues, it has not been something that has been prioritized. What do you believe has changed there?
Thanks, Shereen, for having me. I think my co-panelists mentioned about, the lot has changed from the time we had the reading down of 377, and companies are far more visible and vocal to talk about their initiatives, both internally and externally. What has happened over the last couple of years, I would say that a lot of organizations have consciously invested in going through a lot of trainings around, the unconscious bias and mythbusters, and trying to understand what the community, the LGBTQ community requires, and try to, internalize in terms of, some of the programs that they want to roll out. Two is also to see where the culture is currently. So we do a lot of, those studies around, measuring the current environment and culture of how inclusive certain organizations are on various parameters, from policies to trainings, communication, and etc. So establishing that baseline helps the organization to move forward. And through one of the studies that we did last year, which is the India Workplace Equality Index, which is the only index today in the country which measures the level of inclusion for at workplaces, we had 65 companies participate. And out of that, you had 11 companies which were Indian companies. So which clearly talks about, there is a need, and there is a far more visible interest and commitment, and to come forward and really look at affirmatively some of these processes of setting up and the culture and making sure that it is fully inclusive.
Yes, so 11 companies